بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. So it says باب وقت الجمعة وما يستحب من الطيب والدهان. So the وقت الجمعة, this is an اختلاف, and so here Imam Malik is rebutting an opinion that exists, but he doesn't tell you that opinion. So the opinion is that that Jum'ah starts before Dhuhr. And this is the position of the Hanbalis. So according to the Hanbalis, they say when the sun, Jum'ah time is from Duha time in the morning, when the sun is well up, all the way till Asr. Right? That's a time for Jum'ah. And so that position exists and is adopted by Imam Ahmad, right? So Imam Malik is not arguing with Imam Ahmad. Imam Malik is arguing with the people who held this position of the early Muslims, who were followed by Imam Ahmad later on. So Imam Ahmad would have been privy to this. He would have known, oh yeah, Imam Malik disagreed with it, but I disagree with Imam Malik, and I'm going with those people that he's disagreeing with. Does that make sense, Sayyid Muzaffar?
Yes, sir. So he's actually uh, refuting people before Imam Ahmad.
Yeah, he's refuting the people that Imam Ahmad will be siding with.
Okay.
Does that make sense, right? So it
Yes.
says, أخبرنا مالك أخبرني عمي أبو سهيل بن مالك عن أبيه سهيل بن this is his father is called Malik. قال كنت أرى طنفسة لعقيل بن أبي طالب يوم الجمعة تطرح إلى جدار المسجد الغربي، فإذا غشي الطنفسة كلها ظل الجدار خرج عمر بن الخطاب إلى الصلاة يوم الجمعة ثم نرجع فنقيل قائلة الضحى. Right, so Imam Malik, he said, my uncle Abu Sahil ibn Malik informed me from his father. He said, I used to see a rug belonging to Aqil ibn Abi Talib. So Ali ibn Abi Talib, right? The older brother of Ali ibn Abi Talib, put out on the day of Jum'ah against the western wall of the mosque. Then when the rug was covered completely by the shadow of the wall, i.e., so now the sun, so now the sun is rising in the east, and the shadow is extending to the west. As the sun goes higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, right? The shadow starts extending to the east. Now, this rug is inside the mosque. Okay, let me just draw a picture. This is the mosque. This is we're looking from the side, okay? Like this. And then there is a rug here. Here is a rug here. Okay. Now, where's my-
This is a top view
this is the side view. Okay. So now what's going to
from
happen
the
is the
top
sun
side.
is going to go like this. The sun comes from, this is from the east. Sorry, doesn't look very nice. This is from the west. Okay. As the sun's rising, okay, the shadow's over here somewhere. It goes like this. Okay. Now the shadow is here. Now the shadow is, oh, the sun is now here. And the shadow is now coming out over here like this. Okay. So what does it mean? It means it's not at the zenith. Okay. It's not at the zenith. It's after the zenith. It's when Dhuhr has already come in and now there's a shadow. So maybe this carpet was very thin, came to here or whatever. Maybe doesn't have to come that far. But the point is that carpet that's inside the mosque and against the west wall facing east is now being covered by a shadow. So there is a shadow facing east. Therefore, it cannot be noon anymore. It has to be afternoon. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, the diagram is a bit confusing, Sheikh.
Okay, so the sun rises here, okay?
Right?
When the sun
Yes.
is rising, this wall of this wall of the masjid, the shadow will be over here towards the west. As the sun goes up and up and
Okay.
up, there will be no shadow. Okay?
Okay, there's no roof. Okay.
Yeah, that's this the roof here. So if the sun was directly above it, there would be no shadow, and that carpet would not be covered by a shadow.
Right, right. Okay.
Okay?
Got it.
So what he's saying is now it must have passed that line, and now it's being covered. Now it's being covered by a shadow. So there is a shadow. That's the point.
Okay.
And it is that shadow is not just any shadow, it's a shadow going east. Therefore, the sun is now going towards the west. Therefore, it's not morning. They're not praying Jummah in the morning, they're praying in the afternoon. Okay, so it says, we completely covered that Umar ibn Khattab would come out to pray on the day of Jummah. And we would go back and then have a day rest. So you don't have a day rest in the morning. It's hot in the middle of the day, right? So the hottest time of the day is from approximately 4 p.m., I think. I think that's 3 or 4 p.m. usually. It's the hottest time of the day because that's when all the heat has accumulated. Yes, obviously the sun is more intense before that, but so you don't usually sleep before Dhuhr, you sleep after Dhuhr, right? And so that's when you have your rest. Okay. And he says, أخبرنا. So the point is, Sayyidina Umar used to pray it in the afternoon. So if you think now in Imam Malik's mind, or generally speaking, for the Sunni mind is for practically speaking, for the Sunni mind, what Sayyidina Abu Bakr, Sayyidina Umar, Sayyidina Uthman did is the deen, right? So technically speaking, for Imam al-Shafi'i, it's not ijma', right? It's not ijma'. But practically speaking, when Sayyidina Umar does something, everybody does it, right? Everybody does it. And so when he's saying Sayyidina Umar did this, therefore it's the deen of Allah, basically, right? Sayyidina Umar gathered people to do Taraweeh, we all pray Taraweeh in Jama'ah, we don't pray by ourselves, right? Generally speaking. Okay. So أخبرنا مالك أخبرنا نافع عن ابن عمر كان لا يروح إلى الجمعة إلا وهو مدهن متطيب إلا أن يكون محرما. Right, so Imam Malik informed us from Nafi' that Ibn Umar would always leave for Jum'ah oiled and scented. Muddahin, right? Iddahana, muddahinun, right? So this is either mufta'ilun, muddahinun, or muddahinun, mutafa'ilun, like muzammil, where the ta of mutafa'il is merged with the dal. Right, muzammil, ya ayyuhal muzammil, ya ayyuhal muddathir, on the pattern mutadathir and mutazammil. So it's either muddahin or mufta'il. Muddahin, right? Like muddakir. Okay. Okay, he'd always have oil and scented, unless he were on ihram, in which case he would not put oil on and would put perfume.
Sheikh, oiling means oiling the hair.
Oiling the hair. When you say sunnah of oiling, it means oiling the hair. So oiling your body is something you do for a medical reason. Let's say, for example, somebody who has dry feet and they put Vaseline or some kind of oil on their feet to stop it cracking. That's something else, right? That could be wajib or mandub, depending on the medical need. But otherwise, to say the sunnah of oiling is oiling your beard and oiling your hair, right? Looking nice. The point is you look nice. That's the idea. You look after.
Like today, people use gel to.
Exactly, right? They look nice.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
And so
Okay.
if somebody, let's say for example, somebody said, usually when I go to the office, I comb my hair and they gel their hair. And now when they go to Juma, I say, oh, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Right? So either wear a hat, wear a topi, look nice, wear a turban, look nice, or how you present yourself. How do you present yourself if you went to a meeting? How would you present yourself? I would look nice. That's Juma, as opposed to go in your pajamas, right? That's not nice. In the prayer, you should dress up for the prayer. You shouldn't dress down for the prayer. You look like you would dress when you're celebrating something, right? How would you dress in a good way? Right? That's the idea, right? Like some of the Salaf, they would have a pair of clothes that they would only wear once a year, which is on Laylatul Qadr. Special clothes only for Laylatul Qadr, right? Special way of like really respecting that day. Um, so many people, unfortunately, they treat work in a formal way and they treat religion as an informal way. That's not good. That's not good. So they should treat when you go to Fajr, when you go to the prayer, you should dress in a respectable way. So sometimes the problem is in their mind that is they stress, for example, let's say at work they'll dress in a suit and tie, and then when you go to the masjid, like, oh, we don't wear that, that's bid'ah, or that's not Islamic. But they mix up Islamic with casual. That's not the same thing. Islamic and casual are not the same. So you should dress Islamically, that's true, but it should be formal, meaning you look as you're presentable. If you're gonna take a picture, if you're gonna visit somebody, how would you dress, right? That's how we should dress when we go to the prayer or go to Jummah. That you look nice, dress your best, right? Um, and it doesn't make any sense. Let's say, for example, this person, they don't wear Eastern clothes ever. Okay, this person does not wear Eastern clothes ever. When they go to the masjid, they wear Eastern clothes, but they're like cheap Eastern clothes. They don't look nice. They don't look formal. It looks kind of very casual. It looks like something you'd go to sleep in. That's not good. That's not good. So that the way they're understanding it is wrong. Right? The way that they're understanding it is wrong. Okay. أخبرنا مالك أخبرنا الزهري عن السائب بن يزيد أن عثمان بن عفان رضي الله عنه زاد النداء الثالث يوم الجمعة. النداء الثالث. Oh, so there's two nidas. I guess the nida al-awwal is, so originally there's adhan and iqama, so then that makes three. Allahu alam. That's what it makes three. Yeah, that's what it makes sense. So as Malik informed us, from Zuhri informed us from As-Sa'ib ibn Yazid that Uthman ibn Affan added the third call to prayer on the day of Jum'ah, ay bid'ah hasana, right? Another example of bid'ah hasana. Kulu bid'atin dalala, right? And so here, some people they distinguish. They say basically it's not a bid'ah as long as the Salaf did it, right? As long as As-Sadr al-Awwal did it, the Sahaba and Tabi'in did it. If the Sahaba and Tabi'in did it, it's not a bid'ah. Otherwise, it is a bid'ah, right? So basically, they can do things that we can't, right? Now, according to Imam Shafi'i, the Sahaba and Tabi'in are not prophets, and therefore they cannot legislate. They can't do tashri'. So therefore, anything they could do, we can do. So for Imam Shafi'i, the idea of bid'ah hasan exists is that here's Sayyidina Uthman doing something like this. This is a bid'ah. He did it for a particular reason and it fulfilled certain conditions. As long as we fulfill the same conditions, it's fine. Right? Whereas those who say no, it's the Sayyidina Uthman could do it because he's of the Salaf and we can't do it. Right? That they're going to argue in another way. So there's a book, it's a very, very important book, inshallah. Please make dua that I have time to do it. There's a book on Mafhum al-Bid'ah. It's a really, really good, well-balanced, book on the concept of bid'ah, how the Salaf disagreed and how the Khalaf also disagreed. Right?
Who is the author, Sheikh?
His name is Abdul Ilah. Oh, Al-Arfaj. Al-Arfaj. He's a famous Middle Eastern scholar. Al-Arfaj. I believe he's in Saudi. Ain Ra Fa Jim. Arfaj. So if you put Mafhum al-Bid'ah Al-Arfaj, you'll find it. It's a very I believe there's this website, there's this channel on YouTube, somebody called Mattati. He talks about this Saudi scholar. He introduces books, so I'm pretty sure he talks about it because it's a very, very good book. Okay, so example of that. Malik informed us, Zuhri informed us from As-Sa'ib ibn Yazid that Uthman ibn Affan added the third call. قال محمد بهذا كله نأخذ النداء الثالث الذي زيد هو النداء الأول وهو قول أبي حنيفة رحمه الله. So according to the third call, presumably, so the second adhan or the first adhan was added, means the first call. This is the verdict of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. So in reality, in the Shafi'i school, I'm not really sure if it's actually recommended mutlaqan, right? If it's recommended in an absolute sense. From what I recall in the Shafi'i school, is that we say it's useful when needed. Okay, so imagine you're in Medina, there are no clocks, there's no cars, people are far away, and the population has grown now, and so they needed to call the adhan at the beginning of dhuhr for people to come. Okay, and then they called the adhan for the khutbah to start. Right, so the Imam sits, he says Assalamu alaikum, sits down, and then they call the adhan. So if they waited for people, if they didn't do that, people would be too far away, and people would miss the first khutbah, right? So I believe in the Shafi school, we say that it's there for a practical reason. It's not there for a ritual reason, and so therefore, when it doesn't fulfill that practical reason, you don't have it. So now, for example, let's say I live in America, you don't hear the adhan anyway. So the adhan will not bring me closer. I just see on the app or on the group, oh, by the way, Jummah is starting in half an hour. Be there on that time, and that's it. So whether you call the first adhan or you don't call the first adhan, it's irrelevant. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. So it's just there for a practical reason, and if that practical reason is not fulfilled, there's no need for it. Just like the bayan. What's the point of bayan? Right? Having a bayan and then a khutbah is that I'm in India. People don't know Arabic. Maybe Friday's not a day off, so I make the khutbah as short as possible so that more people can attend. And there's some benefit as well in that people can understand it. But is it useful giving a bayan in French when I'm in Delhi? Why would you do that? Why would you give a bayan in French? That doesn't make any sense. Nobody will understand you. So it's not recommended. It's just a waste of time. Right? So something that is there just for practical reasons is only useful in as much as it's practical. Right? Just like saying the niyyah aloud. Right? I'm praying Isha, 4 rakahs Fard Isha. Okay, Allahu Akbar. Why did you say that aloud? Oh, so to remind myself. Okay, did you need to be reminded? No. Okay, so then why did you do it? Right? Assalamu alaikum,
So,
Muhammad.
the khutbah.
Walaikum salam.
Okay, go ahead, Said.
Yes, the khutbah, as you said. So the Shafis, do they say that the khutbah should be in the language that people understand?
No, the
That's
khutbah is a ritual and it has to be in Arabic.
okay.
Yeah.
Because some people do mix up, right?
Yeah, so no,
No,
so
so
you can so whether you're putting some other language in it between it something else, but the point is the arkan have to be in Arabic because it's a ritual, right?
okay.
Right. So as opposed to something there that's there for practical reasons. Okay. Like using the microphone. There's a practical reason, right? If 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 there's only 40 people and they can all hear you, there's no need to use a microphone. Right? Same kind of idea. Okay. So now this tells us as well, that the Jum'ah comes in at Dhuhr time. Okay? Because the first adhan, okay, if they're praying Jum'ah before Dhuhr, if they're praying it before Dhuhr, then there wouldn't be an adhan for Dhuhr. Does that make sense? So the way we have it is the Dhuhr comes in, you call the adhan. This is what we do today based on what Sayyidina Uthman did. Dhuhr comes in, we call the adhan, so people start coming to Jum'ah, and then they call the adhan to begin the khutbah. Okay? So there wouldn't be two adhans if Dhuhr hadn't come in yet. So surely they're calling the first one at the beginning of Dhuhr and the second one, unless like for the Hanbalis they're going to say, I know he just called the first, you know, they called the first adhan at some random time, right? So they just had two adhans and that's it. Does that make sense, Sayyid?
Yes, Sheikh.
Right? Is that it means that they're doing it at Dhuhr time. Allahu A'lam. Okay. So it says Bab wal qira'ati fi salat al jumu'ati wa ma yustahabbu. So importantly, the word is jumu'ah, right? We say Juma, right? But the word is jumu'ah, right? Dhamma. Al jumu'ah. Like not humaza. Humaza is humaza, but this is jumu'ah. Dhamma. Right? Wa ma yustahabbu min as-samt, and it's being recommended to be silent. أخبرنا مالك حدثنا ضمرة بن سعيد المازني عن عبيد الله بن عبد الله بن عتبة أن الضحاك بن قيس سأل النعمان بن بشير ماذا كان يقرأ به رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على إثر straight after على إثر سورة الجمعة يوم الجمعة فقال كان يقرأ هل أتاك حديث غاشية. And so it says, Malik informed us from Damra ibn Sa'id al-Mazini, from Ubaidullah ibn Abdullah ibn Utbah, from Dahak ibn Qais, who asked Nu'man ibn Bashir, what did the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to recite after Surah al-Jumu'ah on the day of Jumu'ah? He answered, he used to recite Hal Ata ka Hadith al-Ghashiyah. أخبرنا مالك
This is in
حدثنا.
prayer.
Say it again.
Is this in prayer or outside prayer?
By default in prayer. That's what it usually means. أخبرنا مالك حدثنا الزهري عن ثعلبة بنت ابن أبي مالك. Right? ثعلبة means vixen, female fox. Right? So that's a man's name. Right? أنهم كانوا زمانة during the time of Umar ibn Khattabi يصلون يوم الجمعة حتى يخرج عمر. فإذا خرج وجلس على المنبر وأذن المؤذن قال ثعلبة جلسنا نتحدث فإذا سكت المؤذن وقال عمر سكتنا فلم يتكلم أحد منا. Malik informed us from Zuhri from Tha'laba ibn Abi Malik, who said that during the time of Umar al-Khattab they used to pray on the day of Jumu'ah until Umar came out. Okay, so this is contrary to the Maliki school. The Maliki school, you don't pray. They pray the sunnahs before, right? Before the prayer time comes, beforehand. Anyway, he would come out and sit on the minbar, and the mu'adhin would call the call, the mu'adhan, right? We mentioned before that the word in English is azan, okay? So when you're translating a word, an Arabic word into English, if the word exists in English, you should translate it, right? And the mu'azzin is not called mu'azzin. He's called mu'azzin. That is an English word, mu'azzin, right? Just like magazine, right? A magazine, that's not a good example actually, magazine, but so the word magazine is from makhazin, it's Arabic, but that's not a good example. But the point is, the word in English is azan. It is not adhan or mu'azzin. So we don't have to use the word mu'adhin or use the word give the call. You say when the mu'azzin called the azan. That's the word in English now, right? Similarly, we use the word kismet, right? That was my kismet. Kismet, right? Or the word paka, right? Paka, right? So you speak Urdu, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you
Uh,
refer to something as being paka, right? Like something ripe and then something.
yes, Pakka. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So that's a word in London. They say, oh, it's, how was the film? Oh, it was pucker. Like it was fantastic. How's the food?
Oh, okay.
Puck, you say pucker. It's like there's a company called Pucker Pies, right? They make pies that taste nice. Pucker, right? Pucker. But pucker, right? So anyway, that's slang. That's slang English. But the point is, kismet is English. Like I can use that. It's in the English dictionary, right?
Kismat like luck, you mean?
Say it
Have,
again.
is it like luck? Have in Arabic, right? Kismat. Do you mean that
Yeah,
word?
so qismat, yeah, luck, yeah, like luck, yeah. So it's the Arabic word is qisma, right? But the point is that word comes into Urdu and from Urdu into English as kismet, right? You say it was just his kismet that he happened to meet Dr. So and so at that time. That's an English word. So I shouldn't use the word qisma in italics with a qa with a q. The word exists in English, so it should say, just in terms of translation, I would sit on the pulpit, that's what it is, and the muezzin would call the azan, right? Or you don't call it a mi'dhana, you call it a minaret. Like that's the word in English, a minaret, right? It's minara in Arabic, but in English it's minaret, right? I remember asking my French teacher at when I was in grade 9. I said, "How do you say inshallah in French?" So she's thought about it. She has studied medieval French. She said, "Si veut le bon Dieu," if the good God wills, right? I asked my French teacher, right? She's grew up in Paris or whatever it is, and she's say, how do you say inshallah? She says, you say inshallah, because in France there are so many Muslims, they know what it means,
Okay.
right? So even the word inshallah, like inshallah is like this in the dictionary. English dictionary, inshallah. That is the word. So that's how it should be written. There's no capital I, there's no double A. That is the word in English. If you put it in another way that is incorrect, you've typed it incorrectly. That is a word in English, right? It's a word in the English dictionary, inshallah, right? Um, and so that's how it should be written. And so when we see an Arabic word, we're trying to translate it, okay? If it exists in English, then you don't need to translate it because it's there, right? I hope that makes sense, right?
Yes. So the dictionary should have that word,
So
then
this
we
I'm
can
saying
use.
is you should say when he came out to sit on the pulpit, right? That's the English word for it, pulpit, right? Yes, they have it in church. It is slightly different, but it is called a pulpit. And the muezzin, spelled like this, would call the azan, right? And not the adhan, right? It is azan in English, right? Um, just like you say, for example, that place is the Mecca for fishing for fishermen. Like the word Mecca is a word in English meaning the place that you go to. Yes, it means Mecca, but I'm not going to write it Makkah. It is Mecca. That's the word in English, Mecca. That's how you write it, right? And so he was, that was the mecca of iPhones, right? I mean, the place you go to when you want to buy an iPhone, right? Anyway, Tha'laba said, we sat talking when the muezzin was silent, and Umar stood. We became silent, and none of us speaking, right? So it says أخبرنا مالك حدثنا زهري قال. So this is Zuhri's fatwa. قال خروجه يقطع الصلاة. So I believe in the Maliki school, they say that basically the potential of him being there means you don't pray. So I've seen Malikis do this. Everybody's praying their sunnahs, they sit there, not doing any single thing. Because the prayer is supposed to be prayed, sunnah is supposed to be prayed before that. And in the Maliki school, you can pray at Zawal, right? And so it's different. Like you can actually pray at Zawal. So you can be praying before that time anyway. So when the Imam could come in, you don't pray your sunnahs, right? So for the Malikis to believe, they say like the ihtimal, the possibility of him coming, right? يقطع الصلاة وكلامه يقطع الكلام, right? So the Shafis, we say, interestingly, in the Shafi school, we say it's not haram to speak while the khutbah is going. It's makruh. Okay. So if you sat there on your phone the whole time talking, your prayer, and as long as you can hear, everybody could be, as long as the khutbah could be heard, that's fine. It's not a problem. So it's makruh, it's not haram. Okay. And we have various proofs for that. However, we say you cannot pray at that time. And so they say any prayer you pray at that time, even if it was a prayer that you missed sinfully and you were obliged to make it up immediately, it would be invalid. So you were sitting there and the Imam starts giving the khutbah. You can talk to your friend. It's makruh, it's not haram. Okay? You can sell. You're selling something you're sitting there on your phone selling things on a group, right? You're buying and selling things online. It's obviously un-Islamic, but your sale is valid, your speech is valid, right? Your speech, you can speak. It's not haram. It's makruh though. But if you got up and prayed, even if you were obliged to pray, the prayer wouldn't count, right? Because it's not the time for praying at all. So this is the only time you cannot pray at all in the Shafi school, which is you're praying, the khutbah is going, and you realize, oh yeah, astaghfirullah, this morning Fajr came in, I woke up, I said, I'm not going to pray it, and went back to sleep. Okay? So now you're obliged to pray Fajr immediately. You're not allowed to delay at all. So we're going to say, so in the Shafi school, we're going to say that you can't do it that time. You couldn't do qada, you couldn't do anything. The only thing you can do is tahiyyat al-masjid, and you have to keep it brief. Right? And so what I want to point out is, like the significance of certain fatwa, right? So look how Zuhri is summarizing things. Zuhri is saying, when he comes out, the prayer is over. When he starts speaking, speaking is over. And so there's certain things that are not crystal clear in the hadith and the Quran, right? The Sahaba and the Tabi'een made it crystal clear, and then it became our deen, right? That's just how we live and how we function. Whereas it's not crystal clear before that, right? So he says, Malik informed us that Zuhri, he didn't narrate, he said, right? That Zuhri said, right? Zuhri's fatwa, he's a faqih, and he said, his coming out puts an end to praying, and his speaking puts an end to speaking, right? And so what? Is that the only opinion there? Yeah. So in the Shafi school, so in the Shafi school, you shouldn't speak, and it's just makruh, it's not haram. But that's something specific. The point is here is the idea that you do not pray at all, right? You do not pray when the khutbah is going, and the idea you do not speak. Where is it said in a very clear way? Here by Zuhri. Otherwise, it's not very clear. There's, the Prophet ﷺ said, here, this hadith here, the Prophet ﷺ said, إذا قلت لصاحبك أنصت فقد لغوت والإمام يخطب. Okay, so I mean that's about all we have. Is that the Prophet ﷺ said, if you say to the person next to you, be quiet, then by speaking while the Imam is speaking, you have spoken out of turn. That's about it. So this tells us you shouldn't speak. But what about praying? Right? So the praying issues we said in the Shafi'i school, the only thing you can do is tahiyat al-masjid, and you keep it brief. No, that's Shafi'i school. The Malikis and Malikis and Hanafis do not do that. Right? Malikis and Hanafis do not do tahiyat al-masjid while the Imam is giving the khutbah. Right? But where is that? Right? Where is that established? Right? Is it established in that it's not crystal clear in the verse of the Quran or in the Hadith? I mean, I guess you could do analogy, right? You could say analogy. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Don't speak, therefore don't pray." Okay, maybe, but it's not something crystal clear. But what I'm trying to say is, uh, uh, things like this is the beginning of the formulation of fiqh. When Zuhri says things like this, Zuhri gives this fatwa, and he says, as a rule in fiqh, when the Imam comes out, it puts an end to prayer. When he speaks, it puts an end to, he's on the minbar, end of prayer. He starts to speak, end of speaking, right? That's a summarizing something that we now have as a principle, right? And that's the fiqh that we know, like the summary. But it takes time for that to happen. And I'm just trying to say that how important people like Zuhri are, right? Someone like Sayyidina Umar, Ibn Umar, or Zuhri at various stages, they make a key statement that summarizes everything. You're like, oh, subhanAllah, yeah, that's the deen that we know. But before that, it's not so crystal clear. The verse kind of hints at it and could be understood in that way. Hadith could be understood in that way. But it's not until these people come and give that statement like, oh yeah, that's our deen. That's why a book like this is so important. Right? We can have a look briefly as well, Kitab al-Athar. Perhaps you can do that as well. أخبرنا مالك أخبرنا أبو النضر عن مالك بن أبي عامر أن عثمان بن عفان كان يقول في خطبته قلما يدع ذلك إذا خطب إذا قام الإمام فاستمعوا وأنصتوا فإن للمنصت الذي لا يسمع من الحظ مثل ما للسامع المنصت. So Malik informed us from Abu Nadr, from Malik ibn Abi Amir, that Uthman used to say in his khutbah, seldom leaving it out of his khutbah, when the Imam stands, then listen and keep quiet. For someone who keeps quiet and does not hear because they didn't have microphones, shall have the same reward as somebody who does hear and keeps quiet. So just listen anyway, even if you can't hear. أخبرنا أبو الزناد عن أعرج عن أبي هريرة super صحيح حديث قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا قلت لصاحبك أنصت فقد لغوت والإمام يخطب. Right? He says, if you say to your friend next to you, be quiet, then by speaking while the Imam is speaking, you have spoken out of turn. So this is the proof of the Shafis. You've spoken out of turn. Right? So you have nothing haram, you've done something wrong. Right? أخبرنا مالك أخبرنا عبد الرحمن أخبرنا عبد الرحمن ابن قاسم أن أباه القاسم محمد رأى في قميصه دما والإمام على المنبر يوم الجمعة فنزع قميصه فوضعه. So Malik informed us from Abdul Rahman ibn Qasim that he said that his father Qasim ibn Muhammad. Who is Qasim ibn Muhammad?
bin Abi Bakr.
So this is so here's who is Imam Malik? Imam Malik is the student of Abdul Rahman, who was the son of Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, the whose mother is Asma bint Umays, right? The wife of Sayyidina Ja'far. Sayyidina Ja'far passes away, She marries Sayyidina Abu Bakr. She has Muhammad. Sayyidina Abu Bakr passes away. She marries Sayyidina Ali. Muhammad is raised by Sayyidina Ali. He's with him at the Battle of Siffin. Okay, this is Muhammad. So again, the whole Shia thing is very confusing. Like, why would Sayyidina Ali raise, you know, raise the son of Sayyidina Abu Bakr? And then Muhammad is sent to Egypt to be a governor for Sayyidina Ali. Muhammad is killed. Qasim and his sister are sent back to be with their aunt, Aisha radiallahu anha, in Medina. So that's Qasim in Muhammad, right? And Abdurrahman is his son. And Imam Malik is his grand teacher, student. So saw some blood on his shirt while the Imam was on the minbar, and he took off his shirt and placed it at his side. Okay, so he moved. Clearly, he moved while he was right. So I just want to skip to Kitab al-Athar. Who would like to do Kitab al-Athar by Imam Muhammad or Qadi Abu Yusuf as a separate class?
Yeah, Sheikh, I will be interested. I
So I
mean,
think
if
it's
it's
it's very
at this
important.
time.
And again, I'm talking as a
Yeah.
Shafi'i, like because there's so many things that are just very important that are there, right? That it's like the foundation of what's going on. Inshallah, maybe I'll try and find a commentary on it or something. Inshallah, we can try. So I'm not a
Sheikh,
Shafi'i.
will it be on this
I'm
same
not.
time?
I'm not sure, but I'm not a Hanafi, so it's harder for me to like kind of comment on these things. And there's a lot of times it's like you need to have studied Hanafi fiqh to kind of understand these things properly. I'm just aware of Hanafi fiqh. I'm not really like studied Hanafi fiqh proper. So we'll see, inshallah. Anyway, we'll try and do that. I think it's important. But I just want to jump to Kitab al-Athar anyway, and let's just see what Imam Muhammad says. Where is this? Give me a second. Kitab al-Athar. Okay, وضوء مس الذكر استنجاء سواك. Can't see anything on Jumu'ah. Salat Jumu'ah wal khutbah. Here we go. What is this? Okay, so he says Salat al-Jumu'ah. Okay, that's the first one. Ajib, look at this, a beautiful istidlal. So Imam Muhammad narrates from Imam Abu Hanifa, from Hamad ibn Abi Sulaiman, from Ibrahim al-Nakhai, from Abdullah Mas'ud, that he said, أن رجلا سأله عن خطبة يوم الجمعة. He says, in Jum'ah, like he asked him a question, presumably, do you have to stand, do you not have to stand, etc. قال أما تقرأ سورة الجمعة? Don't you read سورة الجمعة? قال بلى. So yeah. So لكني لا أدري كيف هي. So like, how do you do جمعة? قال وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما. And they left you standing. So they said on Jum'ah, it says when they see trade or some other interesting thing, they ran off to it, they left and go into it, and they left you standing. The Prophet was standing. So then, i.e., the khutbah has to be, you have to do it while standing. فالخطبة قائما يوم الجمعة. Subhanallah, right? That's an amazing istidlal how Sayyidina Abdullah Mas'ud is using this, right? And that's it. That's all he has.
Is there an opinion of other than standing?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Um, I don't see anything else here about. Uh, so it's very common for Qahat to just say things and then they're not going to give a proof because it's so obvious. Like, oh, things are just well known. Like, can you talk during the khutbah? Like, of course not. So they're not like, yeah, Imam Muhammad. So this book here doesn't really have those things there. It might be in other places. Wallahu alam. I can see it in the Kitab al-Athar by um Imam Qadi Abu Yusuf al-Athar. See if anything is in there. It's smaller. Kitab al-Athar of Qadi Abu Yusuf is smaller.
So there are two narrations.
Say it again, sorry.
So there are two narrations, one by Imam Muhammad and one
Yeah,
by
they're
Abu
just
Yusuf.
because so it's not like a complete thing. It's just like it's like a selection. I don't even know who put it together. It's probably like for a student of theirs. I don't think it's like a book. It's not like actually a book. Like the Muslim Imam Muhammad, Imam Shafi. That's not a book of Imam Shafi. What somebody did is one of like the grand students of Imam Shafi said, "I'm just going to put together hadiths that we find quoted by Imam Shafi'i with a chain of transmission in his books." So they just put it together. It doesn't mean all the hadith that Imam Shafi knows. It just means the hadith that Imam Shafi quotes in certain places. I'm just trying to find. So I don't.
Some Hanafis here are. I don't know why they say the first hadith book is by Imam Abu Hanifa.
No, it doesn't make much sense. That's not no, because
Yeah.
like you could say maybe Amr ibn, so who is it? Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As, he has a book, hadith book. Other people have hadith books. Just trying to find. I can't see anything here on Jumu'ah. So I get presumably you're gonna find it here and there, but we can look in Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba as well. Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba. Um, Laghaut, let's put that in. Laghaut. So the problem with Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba, it is very useful, just it's too big, right? It's like 24 volumes, something. So you will see lots of, it does help a lot with context, right? That's what I'm trying to talk about is you read these books to give context. Like, so when you read the 6 books, you don't actually have the context. You're not seeing what's coming before it. Unsit some of this. Hmm. In the wrong book. الإمام يجمع كان حيث كان من يجب عليه سجود السهو. الإمام لا يخطب كم يصلي من تجب عليه الجمعة. ما أوجب الإنصات يوم الجمعة. Here we go. What is this? Okay, so when do you have to this is a chapter for by Musannaf Abdul Razak, right? So this is teacher of Imam Ahmad. So that same kind of period. So here this is from Mecca, okay? Says عن ابن جريج قال قلت لعطاء ما أوجب الإنصات يوم الجمعة. When do you have to be silent? قال إذا قرئ القرآن فاستمعوا وأنصتوا. قال كذلك زعموا في الصلاة وفي يوم الجمعة. قال قلت والإنصات لمن يستمع الخطبة كالإنصات لمن يستمع القرآن. قال نعم. So he says if you can. So he said Ata, student of Ibn Abbas, he said when the Quran is quoted the verse, when the Quran is recited, then listen to it and be quiet. So he says قال كذلك زعموا, they claim. Notice there's a thing in Ata's head. They, meaning his teachers, like Ibn Abbas and others, they claim that it's in the prayer and in Jum'ah. So the student said, so does that mean you have to be quiet if you can hear the khutbah? It's not just like somebody who can hear the Quran. He says, yeah. So the fact that you can hear the khutbah, you have to be quiet. Okay. Uh, so here, for example, somebody's Ibn Jurayj, right, the Mufti of Mecca, says to Ata, can I say Subhanallah, La ilaha illallah, etc. When I can understand the khutbah? قال لا إلا الشيء اليسير. Right, say it quietly. Um,
Ibn Jurayj from outside Arabia.
from Mecca. He's of the fuqaha, he's of the school of Mecca that died out.
Okay, because his name is like, is that George?
No. Ibn Jurayj, no.
Yeah.
Here, this is a quote that we just saw here's a quote that we just saw in Muwatta, right? Sayyidina Uthman said the reward of the person who is listening but can't hear is like the reward of the person, right? So this is the same quote that we just saw in the khutbah, in the Muwatta, that's from Sayyidina Uthman. So that's just general recommendation. Um, Same thing here that Uthman used to say, and he used to قال إنه كان. Oh, look, it's the same thing as the other Muwatta. This is exactly what we just saw, right? So here Abdul Razak as-San'ani has studied with Imam Malik the exact quote that we just looked, right? Um, okay. From Ibrahim al-Nakhai. So this is from Ath-Thawri, Sufyan Ath-Thawri, from Hamad ibn Abi Sulaim, from Ibrahim al-Nakhai. إني لأقرأ جزي إذا لم أستمع الخطبة يوم الجمعة. Saying I used to, I used to recite Quran when I can't hear the khutbah. Allahu A'lam. From Ma'mar ibn Rashid, he said Zuhri was asked about doing tasbih and takbir while the Imam gives khutbah. He says, "Kana yu'manu bis-samt." So Zuhri says, people used to be told to be quiet. I.e., that's what we heard from the Salaf, from the Sahaba, from the Sahaba and Tabi'een. Right. Um, it's another thing there.
When I can't hear the khutbah means what does that mean?
Because you can't hear the khutbah because there's no microphones. So the Imam's giving a khutbah,
Oh,
but I'm in the like 20th line, I can't hear it. Here, عطاء saying يحرم الكلام ما كان الإمام على المنبر وإن ذهب في غير ذكر الله. Right, so Ibn Jurayj from Ata ibn Rabah saying it's haram to speak as long as he's on the minbar. Right, as long as he's on the minbar, he can't speak. Right. طاؤوس as well of the Meccans إذا كان يوم الجمعة والإمام يخطب على المنبر فلا يدعو أحد بشيء. Don't say anything at all. Don't make dua. Um, playing al-abath, playing around with the imams giving the khutbah. Um, something else. That's just moving around or something else. Right. Here, for example, this is from. Okay, I'll show these people. باب يكلم الإمام عن منبر يوم الجمعة في غير ذكر الله. Something else. Anything else here? Mm-hmm. So interesting. Do you say Ameen? So Ibn Jurayj, he said from Ibn Shihab that the Prophet ﷺ, so Mursalan, the Prophet ﷺ used to make dua on the minbar, and people used to say Ameen. Atta saying no, that's not. Huwa hadathun hada. Huwa hadathun wa huwa hasanun. He said it's Allahu Alam. He's saying it's a bid'ah. It's fine. Wa huwa hasanun. It's a good thing to do, but that's not true. That it didn't used to happen. It's a new thing that used to happen, and it's fine. People can say Ameen, but it's a new thing.
bid'ah hasana.
Bid'ah hasana, yeah. Anyway, I don't want to keep going, because again, you see how long it is and how it can be. It's not so organized, um, you know. But it's very important to understand that the structure. Where does the structure of the six books come from? It comes from the structure that comes before them. So that's why I'm saying these books are interesting, even though they're less organized and sometimes like it's almost like kind of reading random things here and there. But it takes time. But the six books, they did not organize fiqh for themselves, right? They didn't come along and say, oh, let's put it in this chapter. The chapters are put on there because of the fiqh that they've studied. So who did you study fiqh with? Oh, I studied fiqh with the students of Imam Shafi and Imam Ahmad and these people. Okay, well, who did they study fiqh with? Oh, Imam Muhammad, Imam Malik. So, right, like, so it's very important to see the first person who ever put this thing together. How did he think? What were his sources? Right? What was the basis for what he's saying? How did he label things? Right? So it's very important because you read a hadith, we often read a hadith in the light of other something else. right? And we need to know like where did that originally come from, right? It's useful. Khair, inshallah. I don't want to linger, and my apologies for kind of being a bit kind of all over the place today, but just trying to give some kind of idea of what's going on. Inshallah, we'll stop there. Subhanallah, wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Was Ibn Abi Shayba a mujtahid himself? I don't know. Maybe.